Got ourselves just a 4-game NBA slate today, but despite that, we still got a lot of Q tags, a lot of very important questionable players to know about. We're still going to do what we always do here, compare my projections to some of the industry leaders out there, like Stokastic, like our friends at Unabated. We'll see what the best bets are Unabated to get yourself some EV on Underdog, PrizePicks, DraftKings, and FanDuel. We'll run some DFS sims on Stokastic. By in this video, you know all the must plays and my splash plays for today's slate. Let's get into it here. We got the old Q tag tweet coming up from our friends at Underdog. We got Jason Tatum, LaMelo Ball, Evan Mobley as our key Q tag players. Steph Curry, I don't believe there's been an injury report put out yet by the Warriors, so that is important Q tag to know as well. Brandon Podziemski, same thing. Jonathan Kuminga likely not playing on the back-to-back. We'll see how that looks. Point being is that even with a 4-game slate, there's a lot of news to know about. We also have some weird timing on today's slate as well. We have a game at 7, game at 7:30, and you're off for 2.5 hours. Game at 10, game at 10:30. So we should know the Golden State injury report early enough. The Mobley status, that could drag out longer. You need to know that ideally because it would open up Jared Allen. It would also make Mitchell look better, would make Garland look better. It would make some other, your Dean Wade types also look a little bit better. Strus. So basically, this is one of the slates again, guys. We got to be on the clock the entire night. So bad news for you, bad news for me with my projections. I was updating. If you guys are a paying member, or if even if you're just on the Discord, you can see it. I was updating until 10:30 last night because we had to keep updating things. So that is the way that it goes for the most part here. But God damn it, did I get Quentin Grimes right again? I might be bad at everything else as a host, as a YouTube channel maker, all those things. But damn it, if I don't know Quentin Grimes like the back of my hand. Shout out to the chat as well. We got our guy Jake here, unmuted, back again. Glad to see him. He takes it like a champ. We got CJ here. His birthday was yesterday. Happy St. Patrick's Day birthday for CJ. And our green check mark. Appreciate all you guys being here and watching live. I think I clicked Tango Hotel, right? Tango, yeah, you too. Of course, Tango. But let's get into my projections here. I'm going to go look at the top projected players, look at the top values right now. And then again, some main Q tags that we're worried about, but hopefully they'll work out. Who fucking knows? We got Giannis, number 1, 61.8 fantasy points for me, 58.8 for Stokastic right now. As a result, they're getting him at 47% overall expected ownership. I'm getting him in 75% of my top 150 lineup. So for Giannis Antetokounmpo, he is your pay-up option on the slate, your highest dollar guy on the slate. I've talked about enough times. He's your big rate winner from not having Bobby Portis in the mix anymore, not having Chris Middleton in the mix anymore. He is averaging in those periods 1.7 fantasy points per minute, which would basically pretty easily make him the best player in the slate in terms of that per minute basis for that smaller sample size of rates, though more than enough possessions, about 2,600 possessions without both Middleton and Portis this year. So Giannis, to me, your top play. He is the one where I think there's a little bit of differential here for my projection. I think he is your strongest play on the slate. And again, not the issue, but I guess it could be an issue. If Steph Curry doesn't play, if they start sitting even some unexpected guys in a back-to-back, maybe Giannis gets a little bit less time out there. Maybe Giannis even were to sit last minute. I don't think that's likely, but that's your concern point at this point because you do have Steph Curry on a Q tag. You do have Podziemski on a Q tag. Jimmy Butler, we know how he would love to not work if he can get the chance to do so. So that's your risk for Giannis, but it's a lot of Giannis exposure at 75%, but it is what it is, my top 150. LaMelo Ball, your number 2 guy in terms of the projections here. He is also the highest owned guy on the slate, I believe. 56% projected ownership from Stokastic, 29% of the top 150 for me. So Giannis is a guy that I'm getting more of here. You can see the field will be higher on LaMelo. These are the kind of things where on yesterday's slate, it was incredibly easy, or ended up incredibly easy to get to Luka Doncic on the slate because Nikola Jokic got ruled out. You opened up some value. You had a ton of value elsewhere. What ended up winning was unfortunately not Luka Doncic. It was a bunch of the 8K to 9K guards, your Desmond Baines, your Quentin Grimes, shout out Quentin Grimes, your Josh Hart. So I don't think it was actually in the winner. There's one other one in that range as well who went off. Anthony Edwards, I think, might have been the one who was actually in the winner there. Point being, though, is that people just didn't pay up for the top guys. So in this kind of situation where you have a lot of the field going to Giannis, a lot of field going to LaMelo, you go to Tatum, you go to Harden at much less ownership. It's sort of clearly pronounced today how you'd be different today in terms of your pay-up options, but it does seem as well like Giannis and LaMelo look like your best options here overall. And it's the same as projection also being boosted for not having Jaylen Brown on the court, so sort of is what it is. Shout out to Larry here. Great call on Grimes Spags. Had him in my 2 highest lineups. Yeah, I had him in a lot of good lineups. The best lineup I had finished 750th, but unfortunately he had Cade and Şengün in it, which was not the right pairing. Everything else was perfect, and it was the nuts. So it was a tough slate for me, right? Like, I feel like I did a lot of things right. I should have gotten myself more Grimes. I had him in, I think, 33% of my lineups, but he was only 5% played, so it's kind of the balance for me in exposures. But that's DFS for you. You know, Quentin Grimes. Just play Quentin Grimes on every slate. That's really the main lesson for DFS. But really, to me, me today, you have so much Giannis, so much LaMelo for the field. Even Trae Young, 38%. If you were to see Boston play well enough versus Brooklyn, down pace spot, not the highest total in the world, but still a very soft matchup. James Harden playing against Cleveland, not a great matchup on paper defensively, but still a spot where Cleveland's going to put up their points, they're going to get what's theirs. Again, a lower pace game overall, lower total game overall. Though honestly, Cleveland and Clippers 232.5, so not that bad of a total. These guys are just not going to be played nearly as much. If you get the right game script, if you luck into an overtime game like many of the games yesterday, Tatum and Harden could really be worth it because the field is very concentrated. But Tatum and Harden, not as well projected, not great values. Trae Young looks good for the field. I'm much lower on him. As I've talked about a lot on streams, and I have to point out too, I am not a box score watcher. If you guys watch the show, you know that because I care about the longer-term sample size. I care about isolating rates for different combinations on the court and all of that, and letting kind of the underlying numbers do the work with that. For Trae Young, I think he's put up over 50 fantasy points in like 5 of his last 6 games. The floor game was really bad. Let me see if I have... I don't have a game-by-game viewer here that's out of my tabs. But basically for Trae Young, he is a player where I think my projections are doing him a disservice. Unfortunately for him, the rates are just kind of what they are for the Hawks. The guys who are not available. Basically, since they traded for LeVert, traded for George Niang, and LeVert's not playing today, so he doesn't functionally matter. Just to tell you about like kind of the rates for the Hawks, without, as I've mentioned it a few times, without Jalen Johnson, without Bogdan Bogdanovic, without, who's the third one? Without Jalen Johnson, be the third one there. Did I say him twice? Whatever the three. DeAndre Hunter, Jalen Johnson, Bogdan Bogdanovic. That's your 3 guys. You take those 3 guys off. Trae Young is only averaging 1.2 fantasy points per minute, 31% usage, which is good, 42% assist rate, which is good, 55% true shooting is dead average, but that's okay. The bigger winner, though, is still Dyson Daniels, who gains in usage, gets 19% usage, 21% assist rate, 1.1 fantasy points per minute. If you compare these guys to like how they play, the entire season long, Dyson Daniels is the one who just becomes a better version of himself, whereas Trae Young is just kind of the same dude, maybe a little bit less efficient, but still getting the same kind of opportunities here in terms of possessing the ball, creating shots for his teammates. Okongwu also gains more, as we've talked about a few times on stream before. That's really my big issue with Trae Young. But the matchup versus Charlotte defensively, so soft. You take Miles Bridges off the court, potentially you take LaMelo off the court. He is also a Q tag. It's going to be even softer for Trae Young. So I don't love having only 3% fields at 38, but it does kind of naturally allow me to have a stand here where I'm heavy on Giannis, lower on LaMelo, lower on Trae Young. I'm kind of fading one of the games here, and that's fine by me, even though I do think Trae Young's a better play than my projections are giving him credit for. I do have about 4.7 fantasy points lower than Stokastic, so it's pretty tough. Vegas must think LaMelo is going to be out. The total is dropped, and the spread went up twice already. Where is it at now? Because I pulled them in before the show. I assume it hasn't moved again, but it was +8 for Charlotte before the show. Where are they at? Still +8. +8 could just be a no Bridges line. I don't know. I'm not sold on that being a no LaMelo line, but if you're saying it's moved that much, it's possible. Obviously, a midday downgrade, there's always going to be a little bit of a move on that because that's kind of the market's hedging for if he does not play. This game to me, though, I think feels like 5.5, 6.5. I think if both LaMelo and Bridges were playing. So I don't know. I'm not sold that it means LaMelo's not playing, but you could be right. Midday downgrade, never a good thing. Other top projected guys, Mark Williams getting him in 55% of my top with 50 fields at 16. So he does project a little bit better for me than Stokastic, 42.7 compared to their 40.7. For Mark Williams, you're also going to have one thing going, I think, that makes him a more appealing play. That's that the field is likely going to play a good amount of, not on Yeko Kongu, going to play a good amount of Moussa Diabate. Actually, no, Stokastic moved his minutes, so never mind. Earlier this morning, Stokastic had Diabate projected for like 25 minutes and playing alongside Nurkic. There's a weird thing last game where Diabate played alongside Mark Williams a little bit, not a lot. It's a chance that you get some Diabate minutes in lieu of Miles Bridges, though. I think it's more likely you get more Wendell Moore, more Nick Smith. Guess maybe more Josh Green as well. But there's a little bit of fluidity here, I think, for the team. And I would say if you get ownership congregating at all, for use of Nurkic as a value, looks like they'll be 21% there. Diabate is now down to 2. You're getting leverage against Nurkic a little bit by playing Mark Williams. Mark Williams currently projected for 16% ownership. Nurkic is at 21%. So if you get Mark Williams crushing, if Nurkic isn't getting the court as much, if Diabate plays over Nurkic, you're basically getting a lot of direct leverage on chalkier players. So the Diabate number is moving around, so I guess that makes it a little bit easier to not get the direct leverage on him, but you can get some on Nurkic with him being one of the premier value plays, it looks like, on the slate. And he looks like a good play overall. I mean, Mark Williams, minutes stable, and you get no Bridges out there. So Mark Williams gets more shots, probably some more rim running too, because LaMelo's going to have the ball in his hands a little bit more. I would worry for Mark Williams more so if you get LaMelo out. I think Mark Williams at that point will project extremely well, but I don't know who's really going to get him the ball in position to succeed. And frankly, even though Capella's out, Okongu's still a good enough defender. Barlow behind him is an okay defender. It's not a bad defensive team at the middle, so I'm not sold Mark Williams gets a shot quite as well going if LaMelo Ball's out, but I think he's in play either way tonight. Steph Curry, we got 6.5 last night. Okay, 7.5 this afternoon, 8 when you pulled it. Okay. I mean, look, that's definitely moving. I think moving about 1.5 points because of a Q tag developing mid-afternoon, I think feels in range. It's just kind of hitting the middle ground. I think if you got LaMelo out, and with Bridges already out, I would think this is probably 9-10 would be my thought, favoring Atlanta on the road. So that'd be my thought, but obviously Vegas totals, can always be a little bit hard to pin down like that. Steph Curry, Q tag on him doesn't look like a great play. Of course, if he does play, he'll be low owned, much like Tatum, much like Harden. Same thing for Donovan Mitchell here. Will look a little bit better if Evan Mobley is officially out. As it is, he looks like an okay play to take as a tournament option at 8,800. Projection itself doesn't look that good for me, a 4.6x value. Vika Zubac, I've gotten him a lot on slates. That's not going to be the case today. He looks good to me as a center pivot, perhaps. If Mark Williams were to pick up more ownership, let's say LaMelo goes out, Mark Williams' ownership goes up. I think Zubac at that point becomes a more interesting pivot. And centers have done okay against Cleveland sometimes, even though it seems counterintuitive. Especially if you've got Mobley out, I think Zubac could make sense as kind of an interesting low-owned tournament play. Lillard, I'm low on here. Gains a little bit less from not having Middleton and Portis on the team anymore, as opposed to Giannis, who gains more in every category. That's why I have more team Giannis today. And Okongu, getting him 20% more than the field. They're at 27%. I'm at 47 for him right now. Another guy who I should get more of because the rates help him more than they do Trae Young. So low on Trae Young, high on Okongu, likely high on Dyson Daniels as well. That is the way that stuff looks for me right now. Sort by value, and I'll check the chat in a moment here. All right, there's your values. Would I fade Giannis and DK signal for leverage? Based on the fact that I have him 12 fantasy points higher than the next guy, and he's going to be lower owned than LaMelo, supposedly, I would say probably not. If you got LaMelo out, I think it'd be a little more logical then to try to go get some leverage on Giannis and go Lillard, perhaps, Kuzma, even more, perhaps. Just like that one's really not a great play. But really, if a guy's projected for 10 fantasy points higher, you assume that his floor is probably 50 fantasy points. And at that point, then you're looking for those other guys to beat their projection. I'd probably just play Giannis personally. So for the value plays, George Niang looking pretty good. Minutes for him have mostly been stable. That have one down game playing less than 15 minutes, but 39% expected ownership for the field. I'm at 47 here. It is $4,200 salary. Not really any big stance for me on George Niang, but having Karis LeVert out does open things up a little bit more for your secondary, not ball handlers, but scorers, I would say, more so for Niang. And frankly, Niang contributes a little bit as an assist guy, as a rebound guy overall. Niang, since joining the Hawks, has been averaging 0.9 fantasy points per minute. Decent 19% usage rate, 10% assist rate, 10% rebound rate. So does a little bit of everything. Him getting minutes is a good thing. I think he's an okay value, even if it's fucking a lot of George Niang for me and the field. Quentin Post playing good minutes lately. I think for the most part, it makes it a little bit easier to not jerk around if you get a few guys out today. For Quentin Post, 4K salary, only a 20-minute projection. It's closer to 21 minutes. I don't trust the minutes here quite as much. Kind of like we talked about yesterday with Obi Toppin, where I was like, I think it looks like a good play, but he's like a much clearer play if you get a Miles Turner out in particular. You have Siakam out, now you get one more guy out. There's no way they could jerk him around. Then for Quentin Post, if you start getting if Steph's out, you kind of just need Quentin Post out there to be able to score a little bit, like Steph and Pajemski in particular being out. So I think Quentin Post, okay play, but 2% for the field. I'm at 9%. I don't really need a huge stand at a guy that's not going to play, high 20s minutes, 30 plus minutes, that kind of thing. Wendell Moore, one of your beneficiaries with Miles Bridges out today. The issue for him is that Nick Smith will get back in the rotation more. Daquan Jeffries has been in the mix enough as well. Not a great value play that I'm super confident in, but if Wendell Moore starts, I have him producing okay here, less than a fantasy point per minute, but not too far off. A 31% ownership for the field. I'm at 32. He's really your only 3,100, 3K-ish guy you're going to have in the slate, barring some more stuff opening up. Giannis, the top value for me, even though he's expensive. Dyson Daniels, the top value for me, even though he's almost 7K. So Okongwu, Dyson looking good for me. That's the way it's been a lot for the Hawks lately. Trae Young, less good. I think with the way the ownership is, I'm okay with that stand, though. Daniel's still going to be 43% owned. I've got him at 56. Nick Smith gaining some minutes as well, much like Wendell Moore, because of not having Miles Bridges in. Neither of them is a particularly good player, but they are particularly cheap. Nick Smith, 39% for the field. I'm at 34. Mark Williams, we talked about already. Okongwu, we talked about. Taurean Prince. I've honestly gotten Prince on some slates lately, and he's been okay. Not one of my preferred guys, but I do have him 2 fantasy points higher than Stokastic. So 16% for me, 14% for them. Yeehaw. Tying on the Taurean Prince hill with our 16%. Josh Green getting more minutes because of the lack of wings. If LaMelo's out, by the way, Charlotte's going to have to do some weird shit because they also don't have Damian Bow. They also don't have KJ Simpson. They're getting down in guards. They don't have Malachi Flynn anymore. So Charlotte could get really weird here. And unfortunately, all these guys are going to look pretty good if you do get LaMelo out. But as it is right now with LaMelo in, Nick Smith, Josh Green, Wendell Moore, they're all just kind of assholes. Like I don't really want a ton of on the slate, even though they're going to come up a good amount in lineups. Josh Green getting 2x the field on him, and he is an awful per minute player. Kevin Porter Jr. can be a nuke off the bench. Has done it recently for the Bucks. I think he's an okay play. Getting 2x the field on him, but really not a guy I love. $3,800 price tag I love for a guy who can produce. Not a value laden slate right now. You need some guys to be out, I think, for it to start to feel better. Don't get a post for Quentin Post. Boner jokes. There we go. Back to boner jokes. Thank you. Robert Griff III. Fading Giannis is my big lineup. Okay, there you go. So, and I hope that does help Ryan out as well. Gary Payton for the win. Charlotte should start Williams, Nurk, and Diabate for the lulls. If they were Toronto, they might do that. Let's go game by game, though, guys. I know the shorter slates, we get a little bit less views. The energy's not as high. I'm going to try to keep it high for myself. It's been a tedious day. But please do subscribe down below with the like button. Leave a comment if you get value of this video. Good news, I do them every day, Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. here. That's going to be the case. I got no more time off, barring illness, death. I was going to say suicide, but I shouldn't make that joke. Despite all those things, I'm here Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. every day, covering the NBA as best I can. And frankly, I think I'm going to be your best channel to watch here down the home stretch as we head into the garbage time of the year, because I am your king of teams filling minutes with shitty players. Unabated 20% off. Link in the description down below. Do check it out for yourself if you want to get some good bets. And of course, Stokastic 15% off. We got that link down below as well. So please do check it out. Great DFS tools, great betting tools, and you get great deals on the both of them that you're not going to get very many other places. So check them out. I'll link down below. And of course, I'll show you more from both coming up at about the halfway point of the show. Atlanta, 120.3 implied points. Charlotte, 112.3 implied points. This game here looks like your marquee game overall. Still a spot here where this total 232.5, exact same total as Cleveland and the Clippers. So weirdly, like a couple games here where Charlotte low pace, Cleveland Clippers low pace, and still you're getting pretty decent totals. So when you see that, normally it means pretty good efficiency, guys getting shots up, making it count. So I would say that for Charlotte and Atlanta, the game itself looks pretty appealing. For the Atlanta side, 120.3 implied points, I believe, is going to be your high on the slate. Let me just confirm that real fast. It is your highest on the slate. So for Atlanta here, Trae Young, the logical place to go. When you see the highest total on the slate, and again, a soft matchup here versus Charlotte, even though it is a pace down, we're losing about 5 possessions and change. Trae Young is your chalk of the day. As I mentioned, the rates for him without the various Hawks that are departed don't really support Trae Young as much as it should. Makes Okongwu look better, makes Dyson Daniels look better, makes Niang and LeVert look better than he did in Cleveland. As a result, getting more Okongwu, getting more Dyson Daniels, about almost 2x the field in Okongwu, 13%, 14% more than the field on Dyson Daniels, way lower on Trae Young. Practically, I'm probably going to flatten this out and try to get myself 20% Trae Young because I don't want to be dead if the entire field's going to be there. But allowing myself to get more Okongwu and Daniels, I think is going to happen no matter what. So prefer those guys as plays. Trae Young, very chalky today. So I do think you would benefit potentially from following my projections and hoping that Trae Young somehow were to fail in a matchup where it seems pretty hard to fail. Riza Shea, I am just not here very often. I have him projected for 3.2 fantasy points less. He's not been much better in court time without the various Hawks that are no longer available on the team, but he is still a player that's obviously produced in some spots. He's averaging 0.85 fantasy points a minute without Jalen Johnson, without Bogdan Bogdanovic, without DeAndre Hunter. So I have no issue really with Riza Shea other than the fact that 45% of the field will play him. He's starting to look better visually. I've seen him play in enough games, and I've seen the DFS results as well with him in a few slates lately. I get why people are chasing it. I think the price tag works at 4,400. I just don't want to ignore my projection, the fact that he hasn't been that good on the year. Vic Krejci, 2x the field for me here. So I guess, you're not getting one of the wings, get a different wing. Both guys playing mid-20s minutes, both similar price tags. Really not a big lead between them, though I have Krejci I have them both as a 5.1x value. Really, they both are functionally the same play, besides Krejci being a shooting guard too. George Niang, a little bit above the field here, not a big stand. We talked about him, though. He's currently technically my top value on the slate. And Terrence Mann, not quite getting there as much, though he has been a little bit better as a Hawk, averaging 0.76 fantasy points a minute. He hasn't been as good as back in the days when the Clippers thought he was a real prospect, but he's been functional enough. Thank you for extra cutesy here. Great call and grinds last night to listen to the haters. I don't think there's any haters today, but I appreciate it. I think it's I think it's hard to project players like that. It's hard to feel like full-throated about guys where, they haven't been like the nuts for the entire season, but he's been one of the best players in the NBA for like a month now. So I shout out Quentin Grimes for doing what he's doing out there. I love to see him. He had fucking balls last night too. Some of the shots he hit, not the kind of shots you want to see guys taking. He's also going to get massively paid. He's a restricted free agent this year. So like Sixers, I don't think are going to be able to match him now because he's been too good. He at a certain point might want to stop playing and just like get paid, because if you're any team that needs a young wing, he could be a 3-and-D guy. He could now put up more usage. Like he fits a lot of different spots that they're going to want to pay him well. And also 60% true shooting for a guy who's like gunning is pretty impressive. But enough of the Grimes. I'm excited about Grimes. It's fun to like get those guys on the ascent. So that's part of it too. And he made me some money. Charlotte 112.3 implied, not enough money, but some money. 112.3 implied points for Charlotte. Not a great total for them, but still, I think a little bit better than their average. Let me see. Yeah, they're normally around 106 points per game, rolling average going back to last year. So getting 112.3, definitely not bad. LaMelo Ball, though, a lot of ownership going his way. He projects well enough. He and Trae Young going to be highly owned. I just think we see that much concentrated ownership for 2 point guards in the game. Try to find a way to play them together a little bit, but also I think trying to fade these guys, take your wings more, take your centers more. Just hope the production flows somewhere else, because Ball and Trae Young not sneaking up on anybody today. Would say that Mark Williams here, 55% compared to 16% for the field. Big stand on him. I do worry that his projection would absolutely go up if LaMelo Ball's out. At a certain point, though, he's just not going to have guys that get on the ball, can lob the ball to him, get him the easy points that he needs. But, playing not tremendous centers, good enough centers, but guys will still be close to the rim. I think Mark Williams is in a good spot. It's a lot of ownership for me, but I think he's just under-owned by the field. Nick Williams, Daquan Jeffries, Josh Green, these guys all being around 30 to 35% owned feels right. Nurkic, 22%, Wendell Moore, 32%. It's a lot of ownership for all these guys. The issue is there's nobody else here I'm expecting to be much better. Marcus Garrett has been assisting well, getting some usage. He can't shoot for shit, or his worst. I guess the worst case would be he can't shoot for shit. The best case would be he's desperately due for positive regression on his shooting with 45% true shooting. But he's the kind of guy where if you get LaMelo out, he probably will look a lot better in terms of the assist upside. So Marcus Garrett maybe in play as a pivot. But really at this point, you're going to play a lot of these guys. If LaMelo's out, you're going to play all of them, I think, unfortunately. No Steph. Is that official? Oh, boy. So that'll change things here. But Steph Curry rolled out. Is Podziemski rolled out yet? No? All right. No Podziemski news yet. But yeah, Steph Curry out. I guess we'll figure that out when we get there. Brooklyn, 99.5 implied points. Boston, 113.5. I don't even know what happened to those guys with the playback thing. I didn't see it until after on Twitter. But yeah, that's tough scene. Tough scene for getting hacked and gay porn showing. That's something. It's fake news. Never any haters in here. That's true. Honestly, I think I'm lucky enough that this channel is mostly, maybe because it's new enough, mostly hater free, but we'll get some haters. There's one guy who's been downvoting every video lately, which what are you going to do? But I try. I hope people can recognize I'm doing the best I can every day. And that's all anybody can ever do. You guys included. Brooklyn, 99.5 implied points here. Cam Thomas done for the year. In rates without Cam Thomas, Ben Simmons, Dennis Schroeder, basically, you're getting a pretty big rate boost for D'Angelo Russell, but not enough to play him a ton. 13% of my lineups have Russell. His minutes get jerked around a lot. They are lacking a lot of real point guards behind him. Guys like Reese Beekman, not available today in the G League. So for D'Angelo Russell, I think you could play him at 6K. He might have that upside in a per minute kind of situation. Facing Boston, a team he's, I guess, got some history with. It could happen, but really that's the only stand I'd have here. Dayron Sharp, cheap enough at 4,600, being a 1.18 fantasy point per minute guy. Can play him a little bit, getting 7% compared to the field 6%. And Zaire Williams with the field is 4%. Cam Johnson 6% compared to 3. No big stands here, but Russell, if I had to make a stand, would probably be the biggest. But even then, the minutes are just flighty. Boston, Jason Tatum's questionable. Jaylen Brown is out. Despite Jaylen Brown being out, nobody really takes a big enough jump up. The rates for Boston, who is our overall rate winner, Tatum's averaging 1.4 fantasy points a minute, so he does come up a little bit, but not enough that you're super crazy about the play. Al Horford, Derek White averages 1.1 fantasy points per minute, which is about where he is. Well, it's where I have him projected at. I guess it's up from where he normally is. So basically all these guys besides Porzingis gaining about 0.1 on their fantasy points per minute. The point is that really like nobody in Boston becomes a huge winner where there isn't Tatum going from 1.3 to like 1.7 like we talked about for some guys, or yesterday when we thought Halliburton might play without Siakam. He's been a 1.3 fantasy point per minute guy without Siakam, and he's normally about 1.1. It's not like a huge jump, but it's like slight jump for all these guys here. Would say that for Jason Tatum, I think it's an interesting tournament play because that low ownership. Porzingis too, minutes aren't great. The value metrics really not great, but on a slate like this, nobody's going to play him. That makes him kind of appealing. Derek White getting a good amount of him with the slight increase here in projection. I have him about 3.4 fantasy points higher than Stokastic, but I'm not, like a Derek White stand or anything. He gains as much as Jason Tatum does, but he's okay. Drew Holiday has been playing a little bit better lately, but in terms of the longer sample size without Jaylen Brown, he doesn't do as much. These guys all look okay. I mean, Brooklyn's a mid-tier defense. They play slow. That's not good. But Boston also plays slow, so at least we're not losing possessions. But Boston, to me, you get Tatum out. You got to relook at everything here. All these guys in play because you already have Brown out, especially. If you get Tatum in, these guys are all kind of tournament options, and Derek White be my lean, I guess, even though a lot of Derek White. Thank you, CJ. I appreciate it. CJ has always got the vibes for me. Thank you, the best. And you are also the best, CJ. Hope it was a good birthday for you. You're not a hater. No, you're not a hater. You creep me out sometimes, Josh, but you're not a hater. Statistically, some people are already working it to Josh and Greg's. That just helped. I would love to know the kind of person that's jerking off to Josh Engelman and Greg Ehrenberg. I would love to know them. I wouldn't want to shake their hand, but I'd love to know the deal. I'd love to interview them. Milwaukee, 115.3 implied points. Again, a 10 o'clock game here. So we know the Steph Curry news, but you want to make sure there isn't a weird trickle down of guys getting ruled out here. Oh, Giannis hurt something pregame. Just be careful. I don't think it's going to happen with the finding that's going on lately, but I have to give that warning here because it is the NBA. We got Milwaukee, 115.3, so a decent total. But really the spot for Giannis, 75% of my top 150 lineups, Fields at 47%. It's a lot of exposure to a guy that's already pretty chalky. Again, like we saw with Luka yesterday, just getting to the lower owned guys can sometimes be the move on a slate. I think that for Giannis, it's my concern here, especially on this short of a slate. It does look like the best play to me. Again, I think if you're putting in a single entry, I would take the shot of just going on Giannis. But if you're playing a 20 max, playing 150 max, I would try to get some looks with Giannis, some without. And again, keep in mind that the field's going to be playing Giannis, going to be playing one of the expensive point guards in that first game. So you have kind of an obvious trajectory to see how people will be playing lineups today. Kevin Porter Jr., again, not a great stand for me. If you're getting less Giannis, you could consider boosting Lillard a little bit, but he doesn't project terribly well today. $8,500 price tag, though, not bad because he's a little bit cheaper than he was when he was getting that 9K rate for a while, largely because of the time that Giannis was out. Kuzma, I still hate. His rates are awful on the Bucks. He sometimes does okay. His price tags come down. You could expect him at some point to be closer to the Washington version of himself. But he's basically not shooting. He's not doing anything useful in Milwaukee. In his court time without Portis, he's averaging 18% usage and 8% assist rate, 0.72 fantasy points a minute. He's just been absolutely awful. But because you have such a chalky Giannis play, these guys all gain an appeal. So that's your reason to go to Kuzma is you're not playing Giannis. Your reason to go to Lillard is that you're not playing Giannis. That's where those guys are playable. I would have a hard time playing them with Giannis because he kind of needs to hit a ceiling to justify that much ownership and that much projection. Golden State obviously did not have an update before Curry was ruled out, but Butler is going to go up. Draymond will go up, assuming that he plays. Bajemski, assuming that he plays, will go up. Moody will go up. Quentin Post with his usage and three-point shooting will go up. Gary Payton will probably come up. It's just Steph being out's one of those plays where it'll affect everybody positively. Let me see if I can log in to add more funds on this computer because I think some of you guys might not know the NBA Wowie thing. I don't know if I have a login. Okay, I do have a login on here. Let's go to Wowie. So this is what I do, by the way, when I talk about pulling rates. If you haven't seen it before, this is pulling rates. Oh, and I have to put in the settings here again, too? That's stupid. Let's just put in usage. Would like to put in sure shooting, but I want to get the other stats in first, and I always forget where they are here because I haven't had to save this myself in a while. Assist percentage, total rebound percentage, true shooting, DraftKings. All right, there we go. Sorry, guys. I've not used NBA Wowie on this computer before. I use it on my personal laptop. All right, so let's go to Golden State. This is a nice thing we could do on a 4-game slate that I normally can't do because of the amount of time that we have. But off the court, let's take Wiggins off the court. And let's take Steph off the court. It is a paid product, so you have to pay like $10 a month if you want to use it. But it is a great product, I would say. Oh, I didn't put minutes here. That would have been helpful. Shit. Let's put in minutes, too. There we go. Minutes. It's going to be out of order in a stupid way. Click. There we go. All right. We got minutes, too. So it looks like our best player in court time without Steph is Reese Beekman on the brief time period he was on the Warriors roster. Kevin Knox. Can Kevin Knox get on the court today? Kevin Knox has been quietly producing very well. I don't think he's in the rotation enough to feel good about. You probably need a second person to get ruled out today for Knox to get in. Jimmy Butler, though, 1.25 fantasy points minutes. So that's your best player. Kuminga, has he been officially ruled out yet? I assume he's not playing on the back-to-back. If Kuminga plays, he's also been pretty good without Steph. Looney's about a fantasy point per minute, not too different from his usual. Draymond, a fantasy point per minute, so even without Steph, he's still playing pretty competently. Buddy Hield gets up to a fantasy point per minute. Schroeder not on the team anymore. Podziemski around 1. So Butler, Draymond, Hield, Podziemski, I think would be your sort of core Warriors. Quentin Post, if you know he's starting, but he can start and not start the second half. A little bit of a concern. Against Milwaukee. Does Quentin Post help you against Milwaukee? That's a tough question. Point being, though, there's really not anybody who becomes super great without Steph, unfortunately, but these guys are all going to look a little bit better, gaining in every category. A bunch of guys who are a fantasy point per minute. You're talking about a lineup that looks a little bit deeper top to bottom. So that's how the NBA Wowie process looks, and that's what the Warriors will look like when we get things updated. Let's go to Cleveland here, and of course, we're going to go to Unabated in a moment. Podziemski, Q-Tag we're talking about here? Or are we talking about... Oh, Post? Oh, Post also a Q-Tag. Okay. Oh, now we're getting the Thunder guys out for tomorrow. Shit. All right. Well, I would like to know Kuminga's status for sure. But anyway, it is what it is. Cleveland, hopefully stochastical update before we get to that part, and then we'll get Golden State's numbers for that. That'll be a decent way to look at it again. Cleveland, 117.8 implied points. Again, not a bad total here for two pretty tough teams, slower paced and also defensively sound teams on both sides. You can see here they're giving up about 110.3 points per possession on the Clippers side, and the Cavs giving up about 111 points per 100 possessions. These guys don't look too highly owned. They don't project terribly well because of the matchup. If you get Mobley out, though, everybody's going to look better. I think Jared Allen will look closer to me to maybe not a must play, but definitely a core play if you get Mobley out. With Mobley in, though, these guys are all really not super playable besides Ty Jerome as a value. But in a competitive game here, not quite an NBA Finals preview, but maybe in some universe it could be. These guys could play in a sort of playoff-like environment, so get Mobley out. I think I'd start to flock to these guys more. If you get Mobley in, 5% to 10% of these guys does feel about right. I wouldn't want to have 0, I think, if you're playing 150. For the Clippers, not really any big stands here besides the fact that I am lower on Kawhi by... Actually, no. I'm lower on Kawhi by a little bit. 38.7 compared to 40.3 for me. Kawhi's been not quite as good of a producer as he's been in the past. A site like Stokastic will have the longer-term sample size. My assumption is that Kawhi is just not quite the same dude anymore. We started to look a little bit better. Still only 55% true shooting, but rounding out more, assisting more. The rebounding is still not great. The usage is not quite as high as it's been in the past. But he's okay at 8,200. I don't think it's a 20% play, but I'm not mad at it. Harden, I think, is interesting as a low-owned pay-up option. Zubac, nobody's going to really be playing too much at 9% owned or 8% owned. I'm a little bit above the field on that, but really not any must-haves in this game, and I think that's where it's probably an issue for the field because that game could be one where you have some key players going off because the game's likely to be competitive into the fourth quarter. But that's the slate as of right now. We're going to hop to the world of Unabated right now and see some more of the best bets currently. And hopefully we'll get some updated Steph stuff coming on Stokastic too. So let's watch this video about Unabated's conditional NBA projections and get ready to see some of them right now on the screen. Oh, you got expert NBA projections. You guys know the deal here. Projections, data from every sportsbook. What more do you need to be good at betting? Really nothing. I think that's it. Now, having fingers to click buttons, I think would also be helpful. Dynamic projections here. Of course, guys getting ruled in, guys getting ruled out all the time in the NBA. Different projection sets Unabated to reflect those situations that occur in a given slate. Real-time news, you don't have to be on Twitter. That is the dream, I think, of a lot of people. And, of course, you got some data here. You can see your various graphs. Oh, you guys know the graphs. You got graphs here, of course, showing the standard distributions and all that for a given bet. Discord, game day live streams behind the paywall, and Unabated. They have it all for you, and you can even chat. I think the chat thing is like the least important part of the videos. I'm gonna cut. We're trying to keep it like a little bit shorter. That'd be the first thing I would look at. But Unabated, here's what you want to look at. Look at this graph. We love graphs here. Look at this graph showing that you'd be up over $50,000 if you're placing bets 30 minutes before tip-off, 5% or higher ROIs on Unabated using their data. And that is, again, back-tested data. It is them showing the work here as you have to do for the serious bettors that Unabated gets. And if you're not a serious bettor, that's okay. You can still hop into your pick'ems and stuff. You can still just get in a good 10 to 100 bets in a given night if you really want to chase the full EV, the full ROI you'd get. But really, betting is kind of just it's really just like being at like a fucking sprocket machine in the Jetsons. You're just making widgets. You're just clicking shit to make bets. But Unabated makes it easy for you. You get the rest of the season for under $500. You can also get discounts, 20% off. Link down below at Unabated. But do check it out. It's a great product and bet through the entire playoffs. Honestly, I know our friends at Stokastic say it, but like betting, if you're using the right data and the right tools, using it as like a cash game proxy is a good thing to do if you are playing DFS to bounce out your bankroll, especially if you are somebody really watching your bankroll. And I know it doesn't sound, maybe sounds counterintuitive to you, but that is absolutely a truism that I would give to you guys. Check it out. Anyway, we got a few guys, by the way, we're not going to have the projection set. We're not going to have any Hornets, not going to have any Cavs, not going to have any Warriors, and not going to have any Boston Celtics. So we're basically picking from like half the teams. Unbelievable. Let's see. Bang that drum. Stick it in your graph. There we go. All right. Yeah, the Thunder. Look, Thunder deserve a rest. They're a good team. Are your best bets as of right now? Ivica Zubac over 14.5 points, minus 120 odds on DraftKings Sportsbook is your best bet. It's still bettable on FanDuel as well, but much less EV. Take the 12% EV on DraftKings Sportsbook for Ivica Zubac over 14.5 points. D'Angelo Russell, we got under 12.5 points for him. Minus 105 odds on DraftKings Sportsbook gets you 8.9% EV. Still bettable on FanDuel, but the pick'em sites have priced it out here for D'Angelo Russell under 12.5 points. Worth noting that they have him for an extra minute than Stokastic does, so maybe a positive for D'Angelo. Keon Johnson, 8.7% EV for under 11.5 points on DraftKings Sportsbook. That gets you minus 115 odds. Again, the highest EV here at 8.7%. You don't want it on FanDuel, but you could place the Keon Johnson under 11.5 points on PrizePicks and Underdog. So Keon Johnson under 11.5 points, best on DraftKings, but still good on your pick'em sites. Mo Gay, we're all getting Mo Gay with him today on FanDuel. Over 5.5 points for Mo Gay at minus 106 odds. Gets you 8.7% EV. Still playable on DraftKings, not quite as much on PrizePicks and Underdog. We want to see over that 5% sim EV here. We're not getting that. So place the Mo Gay over on 5.5 points, that is, on DraftKings and FanDuel. Zachary Rizache under 14.5 points, looking best on PrizePicks. The standard minus 118 odds on there gives you 8.7% EV. Everywhere else, you don't want to play it. So Rizache only on PrizePicks under 14.5 points. Dyson Daniels, where'd you go, Dyson? Okay, Dyson moving down. Oh, AJ Green moving up. AJ Green over 4.5. Why did that move? Somebody getting ruled out for Milwaukee as we're talking here. Like, I'm worried when I see a Twitter alert and a betting market go. Okay, nobody getting ruled out for Milwaukee. You never know. AJ Green, though, over 4.5 points, minus 130 odds on DraftKings. It's probably moving up because Steph Curry is out, and I would guess the markets are making a correction that AJ Green might get a little bit of an easier time or a few few more opportunities today for a team against a team that's not trying. But AJ Green here over 4.5 points, now one of your best bets on DraftKings. And Dyson Daniels under 15.5 points, looking good on Underdog. The lower there for 15.5 points, it's a 7.8% EV, and you probably don't want it anywhere besides Underdog. So Dyson Daniels on Underdog only, lower on 15.5 points. Rebounds coming up next. Ooh, boy. Still a lot of bets, though, for a slate where we only have access to 4 teams because of all the Q tags. That's not bad. Make sure we got them all in. All right. Gary Trent under 2.5 rebounds. Best on PrizePicks where it's 13.7% EV. In fact, it's the only place you should probably place that bet. So Gary Trent under 2.5 rebounds. Take that one on PrizePicks if you can. Amir Coffey under 1.5 rebounds, looking best on DraftKings Sportsbook at -110 odds, gets you 10.4% EV. Still bettable as the lower version on Underdog, lower 1.5 rebounds, gets you 6.8% EV on there. Taurean Prince, 8.6% EV, over 3.5 rebounds at -104 odds on FanDuel. It's going to be your best bet right now, and you probably don't want that one anywhere else. So Taurean Green, a lot of just one book bets today. Taurean Green over 3.5 rebounds, -104 odds on FanDuel. Jalen Wilson from the Nets under 2.5 rebounds, looking best on DraftKings, -140 odds, giving up some juice there, and you don't want it anywhere else for Jalen Wilson under 2.5 rebounds. Damian Lillard over 4.5 rebounds, -114 on FanDuel looks best. You can still play it on your pick'em sites as well, over 4.5 for Damian Lillard rebounds. But Damian Lillard, take it on FanDuel if you can get it, and PrizePicks and Underdog still passable. Kevin Porter Jr. over 3.5 rebounds, +124 odds on DraftKings, gets a 6.7% EV. Would say again, same thing as we talked about for AJ Green. The lack of Steph Curry probably makes a Porter come up a little bit more. So Kevin Porter, known rebounder here. Known a lot of things. Kevin Porter Jr., 6.7% EV, over 3.5 rebounds for him at +124 odds on DraftKings. The Dyson Daniels under 5.5 rebounds, just a little bit under 5%, so you can take it on DraftKings if you want. Under 5.5 rebounds at -105 odds, your best bet right now, getting you about 4.9% EV. Got assists, then we'll do PRAs, and we'll do a DFS sim hit on Stokastic and hope they have the new data in. We will see. Looks like they do. Looks like there was an update. 441. So I think we'll have a decent peek at the Warriors and what they're doing. All right, let's get all this shit in. There we go. Norm Powell under 1.5 assists, your best bet in the assist markets right now. 9.9% EV for Norm Powell at -145 odds under 1.5 assists. Can't play it anywhere else. George Niang over 1.5 assists, looking good at 9% EV on PrizePicks. You probably don't want on your other sports books. The DraftKings is close. Terrence Mann over 2.5 assists, +120 odds on DraftKings, gets you 9% EV, but not available anywhere else. Chris Dunn under 2.5 assists, and again, 9% EV on DraftKings at +120 odds, not available anywhere else. These +120 bets, huh? Same EV. Yes, that makes sense. Dyson Daniels under 4.5 assists, +122 odds on FanDuel, gets you 8.3% EV. Also bettable on DraftKings, where it's under 4.5 at +120 for Dyson Daniels assists. They're fading Dyson, so I like Dyson in DFS. Unabated, not liking him in the betting markets. Kevin Porter Jr. under 2.5 assists, 7.2% EV for him at +124 odds. So Kevin Porter Jr. could certainly be productive and not a lot of minutes, but if Unabated tells you to take the bet at plus money, you should probably take it on DraftKings specifically. D'Angelo Russell under 5.5 assists, looking good on PrizePicks and not anywhere else. No grand slams. There's not a lot of grand slams here today where they're available on every book, but you got a few bets, if nothing else, for each platform. Last but not least, and of course, there's a lot more at Unabated, more sports books, more projection sets as well for the various questionable players. So there's always things to bet on in Unabated. So keep that in mind for yourself if you want to get in good in betting. Of course, it is a premium product. You are paying a premium price tag, but it is worth it if you're going to actually do the legwork and place bets at a high frequency every day. AJ Green under 19.5 PRAs, looking good on Underdog. The lower there is worth 80% EV if you can get it. Dyson Daniels, that's really a lot of EV for Underdog. Dyson Daniels, 11.4% EV for Dyson Daniels under 26.5 PRAs. Looking best on Underdog, the lower there for 26.5 PRAs. But actually, Grand Slam here, bettable everywhere. So Dyson Daniels under 26.5 PRAs or 26 on PrizePicks or 25.5 on DraftKings and FanDuel. Zachary Rizache, 11.4% EV for the lower on 20.5 PRAs. -118 odds, the usual on Underdog there. Not quite as good anywhere else, but take the lower on Underdog for Rizache, 20.5 PRAs. D'Angelo Russell, 21 PRAs. Take the under on PrizePicks, where it's 9.3% EV. Bettable on FanDuel as well, where it is at minus 111 odds for 20.5 PRAs. But Russell unders, with him not likely to play a ton of minutes today, feel like they're okay. Keon Johnson under 17.5 PRAs plus 100 odds on DraftKings. It's at 9.1% EV. Playable on PrizePicks as well, 7.5% EV. Derek Jones under 12.5 PRAs. Good on Underdog. Take the lower there for 12.5 PRAs, about a 5% EV. And Cam Johnson, Underdog as well, 5% EV, under 26.5 PRAs for Cam Johnson at this point. So playing limited minutes, Derek Jones, not a great player. Easy PRAs to take the under on. Stocks of the Golden State roster, I'm actually not sure. But I just know for a couple weeks I've been dying to play him because he looks like a player that's been producing incredibly well per minute. He is still on the DraftKings player list, but that doesn't mean anything because so is Malachi Flynn. Spot track, let's see. He signed 10-day. His last 10-day was signed. Oh, they fucking blocked the date out. That's stupid. Well, I presume he's no longer available, though. So, yeah, you're probably right, Jake. But I do want to play him conceptually if he were available. That's it for Unabated, though. Of course, do check him out, 20% off. And now it's hop to Stokastic. See what the DFS sim game has for us here. And let's get going. Let's build our 5,000 lineups and sim them out 10,000 times. And we will see what Stokastic thinks are your best plays currently. And, of course, this part of the game I have no influence on. It's just Stokastic data running in a sim. So keep that in mind as we go through here. But do support the show if you guys can. Again, I'm here doing this every day, Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. We're also going to be strapping in at some point for the MLB season. At the very least, our unabated NBA shows will be going until the middle of April when the regular season ends. But MLB coming up on this channel, and more to come hopefully soon for everything else. So please check it out here. Like, subscribe, do all those things. Check out Stokastics. I'm just going to run the sim. I got to finish my plugs. Check out Stokastic. Of course, what you're seeing on the screen here, all their tools, all their data updated throughout the night. Get it for 15% off. Link down below. The only deal they have going at Stokastic right now. Not OddsShopper, just Stokastic stuff. All their DFS tools, no matter what sport, DFS data, no matter what sport, it's 15% off at Stokastic. And Unabated, of course, 20% off down below. You guys know the deal. And if you want my projections, my data you see on the screen, including this screen that I show you guys lovingly, updated throughout the night. You also get that for yourself by joining down below. Squirt Squad tier will get you this. Squirt Squad VIP tier will get you my projections exportable for Underdog and for whatever else you're using them for, I guess. But that's another way to support the show, too, if you want. And if you want cheaper projections, you can. I'd say, hierarchy if you have unlimited money. Pay for Unabated, pay for Stokastic, pay for their stuff. Secondary, if you don't have a lot of money, pay for Spags' data, because I update it way more obsessively than I should for how many people are subscribed right now. Will I do early shows for some of the early slates? Probably not. Not likely. It depends, though. I guess for MLB, I have to be more fluid, but I don't think so. But it just depends on what comes to terms for my NFL content, my year-round NFL content. People have been following that. Hopefully, we will reach a resolution with our friends paying for NFL content soon. Hopefully. Your top lineups, though, according to Stokastic, number 1, Trae Young, Dyson Daniels. So double Hawk stack there. Jimmy Butler coming in, Daquan Jeffries coming in, Yusuf Nurkic, Kevin Porter Jr., Draymond Green, and Mark Williams. So, All right, so that lineup here, you're already seeing the Butler effect coming in. Draymond Green benefiting a little bit. Not getting LaMelo in this one, instead getting the Hawks' entire backcourt. And really, Dyson Daniels probably does succeed more if LaMelo fails today, because Dyson Daniels getting some takeaways would hurt LaMelo. Number 1, the turnovers. Number 2, would just take a possession away from him that he could score, could assist on. So I like this conceptually. Daquan Jeffries, I'm not nuts about. Nurkic, I'm not nuts about, because they're not good starters in Jeffries' case and not a starter in Nurkic's case. But that works. Number 2, LaMelo Ball, Dyson Daniels. So you're playing these guys together, but LaMelo obviously being leveraged against Trae Young. Jimmy Butler, George Niang, Yusuf Nurkic, Kevin Porter Jr., Draymond Green, Kawhi Leonard. I think this works too. Dyson Daniels just taking production away from Trae Young. George Niang maybe getting going off some threes and taking some shots away from Trae Young is a possibility. So would say that that lineup is also acceptable to me at number 2. Trae Young at number 3, Dyson Daniels here. Wendell, I'm honestly surprised to see this much Dyson Daniels up top. Wendell Moore, Draymond Green, Yusuf Nurkic, Derek White, Jimmy Butler, Kuminga. that all makes sense. Kuminga playing, I think he looks good based on the per minute data. Court time without Steph Curry. Dyson Daniels, Drew Holiday, Zachary Rizache, Giannis, Yusuf Nurkic, Damian Lillard, Draymond Green, Quentin Post makes this one at number 4, using all the salary in these top 4 lineups. And at number 5, LaMelo Ball, Drew Holiday, Daquan Jeffries, Zachary Rizache, Mark Williams, Kevin Porter Jr., Giannis, and Yusuf Nurkic. So that is your pick so far here for the top 5 lineups according to Stokastic. Highest ROI players, Quentin Post is number 1 at 11% ROI, even though the actual value of the ROI doesn't matter. The directional part's what we're looking for. But Quentin Post looks like your best play. And for this guy here who wants the answers to the test, looks like Stokastic thinks it should be Quentin Post. But it's not always that simple. You can't just give one player and go like, it's not usually how this goes. But Quentin Post would be your top ROI guy. Jimmy Butler at number 2. Again, big boost from not having Steph Curry in. Probably the same thing for Post. Yusuf Nurkic is your value play at 3,300. He looks okay. You just have to keep in mind. You could certainly see minutes flow Diabate's way. You could see more from Mark Williams. You also see a day where they just don't play Nurkic, even though that doesn't happen quite as much lately. That's the risk you run with backup players in general, but especially with the Hornets when you have 3 big men. Mark Williams at number 4. Probably wouldn't play Nurkic and Mark Williams together, but I guess you could on a short enough slate. Drew Holiday at number 5, Kevin Porter Jr. number 6, Josh Green at number 7. Those are your highest ROI players according to Stokastic's top 150 lineups. Exposures overall. I got to put up that Stokastic sticker. How else would you know where to go? We got Yusuf Nurkic. The highest exposed player is Yusuf Nurkic, getting 3x the field on him. He has been a permanent monster on Charlotte, so like I get it. It's just pretty easy to go to the starter in Mark Williams and just hope that he goes nuts in the game. And Nurkic maybe gets in foul trouble, doesn't see the court because Diabate plays minutes. There's a lot of ways that Nurkic could not play potentially quite as much as he needs to. And it's always hard for guys, the backup, to hit that ceiling if he, especially if he like can't close. So I'd worry about this much Nurkic, but you're getting 3x the field from Stokastic, so one of your highest leverage guys as well. Zachary Rizache, getting him in 55% of lineups, fields at 42. I am lower on Zachary Rizache from before the show. Might come up a little bit for me, but I can't imagine being this many lineups for me. Dyson Daniels, 54%, fields at 44. I do like Dyson Daniels as a lever play against Trae Young. And again, a guy who's going to be going against some not great wings, some guys at point guard. If LaMelo is playing with a lot of usage, that's a good thing for a defensive stat guy like Dyson Daniels, who also contributes more on the other side. LaMelo Ball, 53% of the top 150 lineups have him, even though the field's at 57. So technically a fade on LaMelo, but he's still in more than half the lineup, so it's absolutely not a fade. Trae Young, 41% compared to the field's 38. Giannis, 39% compared to the field's 46. So they're a little bit under on Giannis, but still getting more than enough. George Niang, 39% compared to 38. Really flat with the field there. Highest leverage guys getting 41% more than the field of Yusuf Nurkic, who we talked about. Jimmy Butler, 22% more than the field. Field only expected for 9% ownership. That's probably to come up. If I had to guess, the field will be around 25 to 33. Stokastic will be at the same mark, but could move around a little. Mark Williams, 20% more than the field, so getting him in over a third of the lineups here, third of the top 150. Highest ROI lineups according to Stokastic. Zachary Rizache getting him 12% more than the field. Dyson Daniels, 10% more. Josh Green, that same 10% more, though. Josh Green in only 26% of the top 150 lineups, while Dyson Daniels is in 54% of them. And Kevin Porter Jr. in 24% of the lineups as well. So 9% more than the field, who will be only playing about 15% of the time. Negative leverage, guys. Nick Smith, negative 34% leverage. He's not very good, but he does stand to gain a few minutes from Bridges being out. So I don't have this strong of an anti-feel against him, but I will say he's not very good. I agree with that. Terrence Mann, negative 9% compared to the field. Wendell Moore, negative 8% for the field, but you're still getting him in about 1/5 of your lineups. Brook Lopez, 3% for the exposure here, so getting negative 7% compared to the field's exposure. Giannis, you're getting negative 7% as well. Vic Krejci rounded up negative 7%. And Ivica Zubac, negative 6%. So barely playing Krejci, barely playing Zubac. I mean, Krejci is absolutely your pivot point to a very chalky Rizache, even though Rizache has been better and clearly, as a top pick, they want him to start getting better at some point here. But for a one-day slate, I had no issue playing Krejci a similar amount to Rizache, but they don't seem to agree. Is 80% Jimmy too much? I mean, you got to take all 100% of Jimmy if you need to. I think that's fine. Like 80% is probably a little bit aggressive. Having not run my projections, I can't tell you offhand like how high I'm going to be on them for this new data coming in. I would say to me generally for guys that I feel concrete about the minutes. I also like the underlying per minute stuff and the price tag works. I'm usually going like 66% on those guys, so I don't think you're crazy for it. 80% to me is like would be yesterday. I played Obi Toppin 80% of my lineups, knowing that Miles Turner was out. I played Bryant less because I did play some Tony Bradley. There's one more guy. Actually, I played McConnell too, like 75%. So if that gives you context, these are the guys I usually play that are like kind of, there's nobody close to them as a value, but Jimmy Butler's going to project well enough that I get it. So that's a slate, guys. I'm going to give you guys my splash plays for the day. But one last run through all the various rounds of whoring here. Please subscribe down below. Please hit the like button. Please leave a comment. It does go a long way for me here. I show up and do the work every day. And, really the channel in its growing status right now. I appreciate you guys being here every day. But I appreciate you more if you hit the like button and help me fight that YouTube algorithm that makes it tough for newer channels to get going sometimes and just need to keep feeding the beast over and over again. Unabated, you want to get in some good bets, 20% off at Unabated. They also have cheaper packages for their DFS projections and stuff like that. You want to get unique on a slate, play your Unabated projections on Stokastic and see what it does for you. But so I'd recommend different ways to do it, including in particular the betting, where you get in there, start making money off the betting, and you'd be up $50,000 if you placed all the bets they tell you to since the beginning of the season. So that sounds stupid, but it is. There's data, there's math. It's not just some dude on Twitter lying to you. So that's what you get at Unabated. Real bettors doing real betting things and making money. Stokastic, 15% off. No promo codes going for them besides this one for affiliates like me. 15% off all their data, all their tools. Great products, of course, at Stokastic that you see me use here on stream every day. And all right, that's the plugs. Splash plays for the day. I got it. Should I just should I just do the Golden State update so I could really give my full confidence in this one? I think that's what I'm going to do. So you guys aren't going to see anything on screen yet. I'll share this tab. But this is how much I care, guys, even though I have to get off. So I'm not doing the deeper dive today, but I do want to get out of the way of that show. I'm going to pull in my minutes, which I do use just the Stokastic minutes as a base and then adjust them if I need to. There's something they don't update in time, basically. Let's pull in these rates for Golden State. So let's take Curry off the court. Let's take Schroeder off too. Want to really isolate where things are going to be here. Anybody else in Golden State who's like a high enough usage guy to take off? Probably not. I think that should cover it. Oh, let me take off Wiggins too. I think Wiggins counts as a wing who gets enough usage. So let's try to see where things redistribute. All right, so let's pull that in. Quentin Post. Here we go. Here's all these assholes. Some of them not a big enough sample size. We're just going to do some quick rate work here. This is, by the way, exactly how the sausage is made. It is so exciting. All right, Brandon Pajemski. All right, so for Golden State now. Okay. Kuminga looks like the big winner for me. But let me just copy-paste this in. And we'll take one last look at Golden State before we call it a day. Also, I think pretty impressive how fast I am at doing this, right? It's going to appear on the screen in a minute here. There we go. Steph Curry gone. You can see the numbers moving around the screen. Kuminga looks the best, even with only 25 minutes, 31 fantasy points for me, 5.7x value. Quentin Post already looked okay for me. The minutes aren't great enough, but we're there, 5.5x value. Draymond Green, I'm still lower on for him. I gave him the rates that he has for Golden State without those various guys. So I think he should. He's only averaged 1 fantasy point per minute. I am for 0.93, accounting for the matchup against Milwaukee. I'm low on Draymond. I've been low on Draymond the entire year. But yeah, I think Kuminga is it for me post-secondary. Jimmy Butler looks okay, but I'll tell you with my projection, I probably would not play him in every single lineup today. That's how it looks for me, guys. Again, I'll be back tomorrow, 4 p.m. Go check out Stokastic on the deeper dive. I'm not on it, but Josh Engelman, DK, going to be there doing a great job as always. I'll see you guys again soon. So, hey, enjoy your days. Make sure to gamble responsibly, even though it's always money time here. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play NBA. I'll flash it one more time. Just keep putting it over my face. And I'll see you guys again soon. Enjoy your days. Good luck, and bye-bye.